Sorry, fam. Coldplay was in Korea last night. I'm still kind of hyped up from it.
What?
But
Nice.
you guys are like, forget this, dude. Why am I paying this guy? But anyways, what was I gonna say? Yeah, you guys want to go out there and actually hear from like the recent alums that are fresh out of the battlefield. What was it like out there? Lawrence is actually just give you guys a quick intro about Lawrence. He's not just a Product Gym alum and ambassador. He's actually one of my very, very good friends. He's actually stayed at multiple times at my place in New York. We go back 10 years. He actually met me
Yeah.
when uh yeah, actually like 11 years. He met me when I was starting off as a tech recruiter. It's like my second or third week on the job. He came into the office and we kind of hit it off ever since then. And then this is actually I think maybe third or fourth job hunt. This is
Yeah.
probably, I would say, I think everybody would agree the market right now is it's not the same game as it was. This was not 20, this was not and he's also one of the originals when I told him that I was like going to New York to go ahead and basically launch Product Gym, helping people break into product management, which at the time was still a very new concept. So he's made it into, let me go ahead and hype him up. He's made it into Nike, top level companies. Um, I think he's worked with probably some of the most toxic teams out there. So for some of
Yeah. It's
you,
pretty crazy.
so for some of you newbies on here on the call that are trying to transition, I think Norman is a phenomenal resource if you think you're getting wrecked on the job. He has an eighth degree black belt in dealing with toxic team leads and engineering and VPs of engineering. So he is a phenomenal resource. Actually, his blog is still actually the number two best performing blog on the Product Gym website, which is how to navigate the biggest challenges first 30 days as a product manager.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah, really. That's why
Ah.
you get so many, that's why you get so much organic reach because there's like most
Yeah.
of the money in career coaching
Interesting.
right now is actually most of the money right now in career coaching is actually helping people navigate the bullshit on the job because there's like, oh, things are changing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Welcome
All
to
right.
Product Management 2025.
I had no idea that
So
my art, yeah, I had no idea my blog was doing that well, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad it's
Mo
still
mo
up there.
that's what most people that thing that quick segue right here before we go ahead and kick it. Everybody pipe up your questions, by the way, too. Uh whatchamacallit, that thing kind of kicked off our SEO effort. So we made like blogs and videos about what are your biggest challenges first 30 days in tech sales, what are your biggest challenges first 30 days in cybersecurity, and it's piped for like all three verticals.
Wow.
So people don't want to know what it's like to land in France on D-Day. Like, oh, jumping out of the plane, that's I know that's gonna be scary, but what happens when like what's on the beach, right? So definitely ask as many questions as possible. This time around, Lawrence was, I think we did January cohort, we did two sessions every 12 hours for the entire week when I was actually based in Hong Kong, showed up to every single one, knocked the interviews out of the park. Uh, Mock interview with Sean Park, who was the guest coach last week. So without further ado, like you guys need to come in here, start really thinking about questions. If you guys don't even know what questions you guys should be asking, one of the best questions to ask Lawrence is like, how did you like anything? How did you manage your mental health? How did you manage your schedule? I would be asking him, how did you organize your follow up? How did you organize your message? I would also be asking him questions like, what are your challenges right now, like on the job? Um, yeah. Look at your comp. It's funny. The one person I won't mention her name, but she was like, "Well, Rich says the same shit all the time." Well, it's because it's all you got to do. Ain't no secret sauce to this shit. It's like, I wanted to hear from other PMs. Have not been coming to the any of the sessions where I brought in Sean and Lawrence, and I sent them a DM to, you only bring in Asian guys. because maybe they listen to what I say. But I'm gonna shut the F up now. You guys go ahead and get hammered, Lawrence. Okay. Questions. Lawrence, are you seeing the questions coming into the meeting chat?
No, not yet, but I'll give a
Oh,
little
yeah.
intro myself. Yeah, thanks, Rich. Really appreciate the time and bring me in to kind of be the guest speaker here. Like Rich said, um, I've been a product manager for like I think roughly ongoing like I think 8+ years now. I've been through the ringer for sure. But like Rich said, I met him like roughly 10 or 11 years ago. He was the one that really brought me in. At that time, I was still a business analyst. Just to kind of give you guys a brief background, I started my career as a QA analyst. I did QA for roughly 3 years, and I realized that wasn't really my thing. And I'm definitely more a forward-facing individual. I like to deal with clients, stakeholders, and after 3 years of being QA, it just wasn't my thing. And I was like, I'm going to transition over to business analyst, and it was like a direct vertical jump. And then I did business analyst for roughly, I think, like 4 years. And then that's when Rich kind of reached out, and he at that time, I had just, I was blasting my resume out, and I think it hit Rich's desk, and he reached out. He was like, hey, we have a position over at I forgot it was one of the studios. At this point, I had moved to California and I was hitting all the major studio entertainment studios. So I was at Sony Pictures, I was at DreamWorks Animation, I was at Warner Brothers, and then finally at Disney. And I think that's when Rich reached out. He was like, "Hey, um, we have a position over business analyst, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, yeah, sure. I applied, I went in for the interview, and that's when I really met Rich. And then I think a couple years later, he reached out of the blue. I kind of lost touch with him. And I think at this point he had moved to New York, and he was like, "Hey, are you interested in product management?" And I was like, "I have no idea what that is, but if you think it's going to make me money, yeah, I'm all for it." So he reached out and he's like, "Your background actually like translates really good into product management. It's all, really understanding processes, um, you know, the system development lifecycle." And at that time, I already had my like foundation um, within, systems development. And then, me being a business analyst, I really knew how to speak to product management or really understanding how to, speak to stakeholders. But I jumped around. So you don't have to believe anything I say, but you can log in, you can check out my LinkedIn. Um, and you can kind of, look at my previous engagements, but I've jumped around from all the studios minus NBC Universal. After Walt Disney, um, I got picked up by Nike, and I think at that point I was already a product manager for I think 3 years. So I started my product management right around I think 2015, 2016, and at that time I was at DreamWorks Animation. So I was like a product analyst, and then kind of worked my way up. Um, so my first biggest, I guess, like on a global scale, acting as product manager was at Nike. That was in 2019, 2020, right when COVID hit. I had moved up to Portland, Oregon, and then pretty much started my career there. And then I jumped around. I was at Nike for about 4 years. Uh, Worked on their digital commerce team, retail payments, working on their point of sales, handheld devices. Pretty much, we were the only team that dealt with any payments coming in. So that was, no pressure. For I think the first week at Nike, my senior product manager was like, "Hey, I'm going to take a vacation to India. You're going to take lead," and that was like crazy for me. Imposter syndrome definitely set in. I had no idea what I was doing. But I think the thing that you guys want to keep in mind as you guys are transitioning into product management or applying to jobs, you're definitely gonna feel that imposter syndrome. But know that you made it through the interview and that they picked you. So you have a team supporting you. And sure, you might not know how to speak to it just yet, but product management across the board, each company, um, they act like it's such a broad general term when you say product management because there's so many different aspects to it. So each company or each industry may have their own definition of what product management should do or what a product manager should do or a product owner or technical product manager, um, whatever the terms that they're using. They have their own definition or they have their own idea. Back then, it was more vague. So everyone was just like, oh, we need a product manager to do this, we need to do that. So you become a resource, one that becomes like you wear multiple hats. So at the end of the day, you're definitely going to feel like you have no idea what you're doing. But trust me when I say this, especially with these major corporations, if you are applying to like these, if you're applying to Fang or if you're applying to like, these, other corporate industries, um, no one has an idea what they're doing at the end of the day. I think today, in 2025, it's more refined. But back then it was different. So, but definitely use your background. At the end of the day, product management, it's all understanding processes. It's nothing different from what you're doing, whether you're coming from finance, whether you're coming from being a developer or an analyst. There's some sort of processes, there's some sort of hierarchy of, escalating things or, talking to, specific resources, working cross-functionally, getting the, excuse me, getting the requirements that you need and then being that resource or being that, I guess, liaison, so to speak, or that glue to kind of hold everybody together and making sure that you're setting expectations for everybody and making sure that you're passing on the information in a very organized manner. Um, so I think all of you, I don't know what industries you guys are coming from or what kind of backgrounds you have, but at the end of the day, it's just really understanding what their process is and how you can adapt to their process and then obviously bringing in your knowledge of your understanding of product management and saying, hey, this is what my understanding is, what is your understanding, and let's work together and then let's see if we can improve your business processes in refining how to develop this product or this application. So I worked from the retail commerce of Nike. I went into their supply chain order management system at Nike, and then eventually I reached, I think, brand management, which was my original goal that I wanted to achieve when I saw the vision of like Nike being a actual opportunity for me. Never in a million years would I had thought that I had the background or the the competency to work at such a at such a company. But anything is possible as long as you apply yourself and as long as you listen to Rich in the sense of like applications. Um, on a daily basis, definitely send out 50 to 60 applications minimum. If you think you sent out enough, you probably haven't sent out enough. Um, but we can definitely dive into that. And then from there, uh, after Nike let me go in I think it was like 2021 or 2022, um, J Crew picked me up. So I was at J Crew for about, I think, like less than a year. And then I'm currently at Yum Brands, which is the parent company to Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, KFC, Habit Burger, um, yeah, and some other I forgot the other one, but yeah, it's been quite the journey. Um, and I've definitely learned a lot. And like Rich said, I've been through the grinder, I've been through the trenches from just not knowing what am I supposed to do to dealing with like really for lack of a better word like really shitty scrum masters or engineers that didn't know what they were doing or they think they knew what they were doing and they wanted to take lead on it, didn't want to give me kind of like the time of day because I was the new kid on the block, the new resource. Um, but all in all, that's just, a brief background of who I am. So again, I appreciate the time that you guys are giving me here. So I'll go through the questions, or if you guys want to just go ahead and call it out. Let's Saneha. Recently got laid off. Should I be updating my resume to say I no longer work there? How should I play this interviewer? Long story short, I so my experience, none of my like none of the companies that I applied to have reached out to my previous like companies to check. Now, it could be different for you. I'm not too sure. Um, but I would never say that like what you say, should I update that I no longer work there? No. For my advice to you is you could leave like maybe 1 or 2 month gap, right? Because that 1 or 2 month gap is just you looking for a job. They're not going to be like, hey, how come you're not working, these 2 months? It's like, well, I was applying. I'm not going to get a job immediately after I got let go or, that I'm looking for a new opportunity. So never say that you left, never say that you got let go. If you did say that you got let go, just say the contract ended or just say, hey, the company let me go due to um, budgeting issues.
Structuring. Yeah, that's what I
They
was
always say that.
saying.
They always say it's like a budget. At least for me, I've been on my fair share of contracts, and then at the end of the day, they're like, in the beginning, they'll always say, "Oh, we'll guarantee you," like not guarantee, but like, "Hey, there's a potential of you, like us, converting you to a full time, or bringing you on board full time, yada yada yada." Um, and if they don't call you, and most of the time, these companies won't call. They'll just want to see like how long you've been there. And sure, maybe if you like maybe if you've been there for maybe like say 3 or 4 months, they might question like, oh, how come you're there for such short amount of time? But even then, it's a white lie. Like for me, I've always like, let's just say I got let go like, beginning of January of this year. I'll have 2 months gap. And I'll say, that that I'll have those 2 months. But let's just say that in reality, like I don't get a job for like the next 5 months, right? I'll say that I've worked up until whatever that month is. You know what I'm saying? So let's just say I got let go
Mm,
January, um, but I don't find a job till June. Like I'm still applying. On my LinkedIn or on my resume, I'll say that I got let go in like March or April.
yeah.
Like it's not gonna make any difference. They're not gonna like
Yeah.
check up on you or call and be like, hey, did this guy work up until January or like work up until March? Like they're not gonna
Okay.
that. The
What
thing
my
that they're gonna
concern
ask is
is,
probably sorry. Like the only thing they're probably gonna ask is like, oh, was she a good worker? Does she know what she's doing? Like how was she as an individual, like contributor or an employee? I don't think no one's gonna ask you like, oh, how long was he like there for? So as far as like the time frame of when you're at a company, you can white lie that. You can be like, oh, I've been
yeah,
here, for 2 years when you've been there for a year and a half. They're not gonna find out. But again, that's based on my experience. So, take it, with a grain of
one
salt.
the one thing I think I recently joined this company and I was just let go this week. And if I remember correctly, when they had the background check, they were actually asking to like submit pay stubs or like connect your payroll to check
Okay.
whether you worked at a place. So that's my worry that maybe that's the standard now that the background check includes such income verification things, and
Hmm.
that's when it might get caught. So
Okay.
yeah.
If that's what you're worried about, then I would obviously don't lie about that. But if that's what's like kind of in the back of your mind, then
Mm,
just say that the time that you did get let go is here. But again, it's okay to have 2 to 3 months gap. Like recently,
right. Yeah.
at least from when I got let go from Nike to when I transitioned to J. Crew, minimum 3 months. I was like on the job market. When J.
Mm,
Crew interviewed me, they never asked me like, "Oh, why were you down? Like, why were you unemployed these 3 months?" Um, when I got let go from J. Crew and got picked up at Yum Brands, they did ask me. They were like, "Oh, how come like like what happened here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm applying like I was applying to jobs." And at that time it was like November, December, January. So it was the holidays.
yeah.
So no one was hiring and it was the end of the quarter, right? So we're like,
Mm,
it was the end of the fiscal year. So like no one was hiring anyways. So I just told them that this is me applying to jobs and they understood and they're like, "Okay, that's cool." So hopefully that
thank
helps.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, really related to your background, I also started off as a business analyst and then switched into product. So
Okay,
I
cool. So
still
yeah, you
have
can definitely know how
just
to
played
speak
out.
to it, right? Like I
Yeah.
think, as a business
Mm.
analyst, a big part of product management is really understanding how to speak to your stakeholders. And your stakeholders could be internal or external. It could be your teammates. It could be like your director that could be a stakeholder. It could be a cross-functional team. It could be like your marketing team, right? In any aspect of you being a business analyst or a developer, or if you're like in finance, again, it doesn't matter what aspect. You've been in a environment where you had to work cross-functionally, where you had to understand the requirements, where you had to explain or get clear on the requirements and pass those requirements on to a different team. Product management is that in a nutshell. You're dealing with different stakeholders. You're really understanding what the issue is, what the problem is. The big part of product management is really understanding how to prioritize the work, how to organize the work, and how to set expectations. That's bottom line, high level. So yeah, let's move on to Kel. How was your day broken out for job apps, interview, practice, follows, etc.? Um, Kel, do you want to explain that a little further? What do you mean by broken out for job apps?
Yeah, like just want to get an idea of what your day looked like. Did you source jobs during the morning and then you applied in the afternoon or later in the evening? And then from there, the job applications that you did apply to, when did
Hmm.
you send follow-up messages and stuff like that? So just want to get an
Okay.
idea of what that schedule looked like.
Yeah, absolutely. My interview or like my job application process, before I like found out the trick from Rich, I usually like wake up, I'll do my morning routine and then I'll jump right into it. Like the 3 months that I was down, like that I was unemployed, I would dedicate. I think it was from like 10 a.m. to like noon, or like to like 1 or 2 p.m., and then I'll take a break, and then I'll continue applying, right? But then I found out through Rich that a lot of like either startups or even major corps, like their HR team or like their recruiting team, they post during the night, which is really weird to me, But again, if you go on LinkedIn, um, and you start like searching for jobs after, like you start applying for jobs after like 5 or 6 p.m., you'll see that there's more postings at night than there is in the morning. I don't know why that is. I don't know what the culture is around that. So if I were to give you my advice now, um, I would split it and see, I would test it. Like if you're unemployed right now, dedicate 2 to 3 hours in the morning, early morning if you want, um, and then 2 to 3 hours like early afternoon or like early evening, like say like 5, 6 o'clock, um, or from 6 to 9 in the evening, and see how it works for you. But the goal here for job applications is minimum 40 to 50 applications a day. At first, you're gonna be like, dude, this is insane. This is crazy. Like, it's gonna feel monotonous. You're gonna feel like you're going insane. You'll be like, I don't want to do it. And you won't hear anything back. Um, for probably like 3 weeks. I promise you. I can guarantee you, you won't hear anything back. But it's just like it's just like a rocket ship when it's going up, right? When it first launches, it's really slow. You're like, man, this rocket isn't going anywhere. But when it reaches a certain altitude and it burns enough gas, it literally like shoots up into the atmosphere, right? Same thing with job applications. You're gonna be applying a ton, and you're not gonna hear anything back. Once like you hit the month and a half mark to 2 months, all of a sudden you'll have a like you'll just be drowning, like recruiters will start reaching out to you. And I don't know if it's linked into, I think Rich talks about this a little bit. Your algorithm starts to learn if you're on LinkedIn. It'll promote your profile more. It'll say that you're more active, and you're actively in the market searching. um, so I would definitely again, play around with the algorithm, apply as much as you can, um, and don't be so locked in on like, oh, this company, like, I don't know if I want this company, or I don't know if I want to work here. Like, literally, you're just practicing right now. I think for me, at first, I was also locked in. I was like, oh, I don't want to apply this because, like, what if they interview me and, like, like, I don't want to take it. Like, who cares? I was applying to, like, New York, Miami, LA, Seattle. I was just shooting my, and they call me, and you get practice. You get practice. And what they say, practice makes perfect, right? Or close to perfect. You'll start getting calls, and it'll become almost second nature. It'll almost be like you talking to a friend on the phone, and they're asking you like, "Oh man, what are you doing now?" And you'll just talk to them as if they're a friend. I was like, and you'll start reciting, your pitch, and it'll just become so second nature to you that you know how to speak to the jargon, and just you'll start to see a pattern in the questions that they ask. um, Product management interview, at one point you'll realize it's like almost the same question over and over and over again. Um, so hopefully that answered your question. Your As far as your interview practices, um, have a pitch that's no more than like a minute to 2 minutes. No more than like 3 minutes. It should be a quick like rundown of like, hey, how long have you been a product manager for, or your understanding of what product management is. Talk to your most recent engagement, um, and then go back. But I think this is the key here. Um, this is the one advice that always stuck to me that I learned from Rich and from Product Jim. Control the flow of conversation. Lead the conversation. Do not let them lead you. The moment that you let them lead you, you are now fallen into the QA like pattern, right? And you become like almost a robot. And to them, they're just, to them, they're just like, oh my God, this is another individual. This is the same BS, or like, oh man, this guy is like, just like everybody else. So for me, what really like catches a lot of people off guard is when you hop on the call with an interviewer or with a recruiter, or with the hiring manager, whoever, it doesn't matter, you know, immediately be like, oh, hey, thanks for your time today. Like, really appreciate this opportunity. Um, and they can say, oh, hey, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Give me like a rundown of your experience. You don't have to answer that question. You can be like, yeah, of course. But first off, I just want to say thank you, so much for this time, and this opportunity. But if I may ask, what really caught your attention about my resume or my background, or what was it about my resume that set me apart from all the other resumes that made you really wanted to like reach out and really speak to me? They will immediately answer you. They will not push back and say, "Oh no, why don't you answer our question first?" Right? And that's how you control the flow of conversation. Once you control that flow of conversation, um, they will give you, like what Rich says, they'll give you ammo. They'll feed you information that you then can literally pick and be like, okay, I can speak to this. They said that they like this about my resume. They said they like this about my resume. Oh, they like this engagement that I had at this company. So when they say that, you can literally hone in and speak to those topics, and then like elaborate on those details, and that will take up 20, 30, like literally like 15, 20 minutes. And then from there, they'll literally forget about like maybe your other like engagements, and they'll want to dig deeper, and then you can just speak to that, and eventually they'll just be like, okay, like this is great, this is all the information that we really need. Um so my advice with like interviews: control the flow of conversation, have your pitch ready, so that you can speak to it, and you'll literally like and obviously be empathetic. Like, I don't know how many people are extroverts here, but if you're an extrovert, you're golden. If you're an introvert, definitely try to work on your people skills and your social skills, and really like put yourself out there and like be engaged. They can, like what they say, real recognizes real. They can tell when someone is really like enthusiastic about a position, and they can tell when someone's really engaged. um, so that's my advice there. Keeping a track of time here. Sorry, I know I've been a little kind of rambling here, but let's move on. Abel, I'm trying to I am trying to hook up with Kate Hay of Sheen, who just posted a product manager position. Rich, can you help me or guide me on how to reach her? Okay. I've been in this position. I wanted to apply to Foot Locker. Rich actually helped me apply, not apply, but he reached out to the director of Foot Locker only because I did my research on LinkedIn and I found a couple recruiters, but I think Rich at that time it was like a live session. We were both on a call with like a cohort like this, and we literally went through step by step. We searched recruiter, I think it was product manager or product of Foot Locker, right? And literally we went down to like, it returned a list of like individuals, resources that worked on product in Foot Locker. I think we found out like we found a couple recruiters and then we found the director. We literally just blasted uh, um, DMs to those individuals. And a recruiter reached out back to me saying, "Hey, thanks for reaching out. We would like to interview you." And then it in turn, the hiring manager was actually the director of Foot Locker. So to your question there, how you should try to like hook up with Kate Hay of Sheen, um, reach out to her directly. If you already know who she is, um, reach out to her. Reach out to her and say, hey, you know, say your pitch, but set yourself apart. Be like, hey, I'm reaching out directly to you. I want to set myself apart from every other individual here. I've already applied to the position, but I want to reach out directly, because, I really want this position. I think it's a good fit for me. And kind of speak to your background. But again, keep it short and sweet, keep it concise, um, and just reach out. I would reach out to the other recruiters, not just Kate Hay, but other recruiters at Shane or Sheen, however you say that. But yeah, just reach out. That's the only thing I can tell you. There's no formula, there's no magic words that you're gonna say. It's just putting yourself out there and reaching out to them directly and saying, "Hey, I want this position. Give it to me." That's it. Hopefully that answered your question, Abel. Um, Michael, looking back, were there any green flags you were a top candidate? No. I never thought I was a top candidate for any position. I applied to Facebook, I applied to Microsoft, I applied to Meta, I applied to, yeah, Facebook, same thing. I applied to like Snapchat, I applied to and any big major corporations, any of the FANG companies that I applied to. And at no point did I think I was like a top candidate. Facebook, let's take Facebook or Meta. They have I think right now they have 10 product manager positions open. All of them fit exactly my resume. And I'm like, okay, I think I am a top candidate. Never, they never called back. I don't know if they saw my application. I don't know if, I submitted my application to all 10 product management positions at Meta. And I literally met all the requirements. Like it was like a 1-to-1, 100% match. Um, but they never responded to me. So even then, and and then again, so take my example at Nike. I never thought I would apply to Nike. I like literally I was sitting in like LA, and at that time I had just ended my project with Walt Disney. I was literally just blasting my resume literally just sending my resume out. And then a recruiter reached out to me. They were like, "Hey, we have a position at Nike. Do you want?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I even reached out to Rich, and Rich was like, "There's two reasons why Nike wants you. Either one, they don't have anyone to do the work. They don't have anyone that wants to do the work. Or I forgot what the other one was. Rich, I don't know if you remember, but it was like they were like, you don't, either they have the work. No one wants to do the work, or whatever the case may be, just no one wants to do the work, or they can't find anybody, right?" And Rich was like, don't do it. You're not gonna be happy. Like, it's gonna be like it's cool, but you're not gonna enjoy it. But at that time I was like, you know what? Fuck it. It's Nike. It's gonna be amazing under my belt. I'm gonna see where this door opens. and I got it, not knowing anything about like obviously I was like a shoe head and like I love Nike, but like a product manager at Nike, given my background as a business analyst and a QA, like no idea, right? So you know, possibilities are crazy. It's endless. Don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking that, oh, this is the perfect job for me. And you're like zoned in on that, right? Another one, I don't know if you guys know what the GOAT group is. The GOAT group is similar to like an online like StockX, which is like an online retail store or like a reseller brand. I wanted to go after the GOAT group after letting go from Nike. I applied to their position. They had like 3 product manager positions open. Literally applied to it, I think 4 times. I got denied. I got rejected like 3 times, and I think it was just last week or like 2 weeks ago. They reached out to me. They were like, "Hey, we like your background. Like, our product, our director of product used to be at Nike." I thought I got it. They set me up with an interview, and then boom, I think like a day after so I spoke with the recruiter. She set me up with the interview with the director on a Friday. Thursday rolls around. They were like, "Hey, sorry, the director he pivoted. He wants to cancel all his interview calls for product management." So, as excited as I was, it was a full-time position, paying I think, like 190 to 200K. So I was stoked. I was like, yeah, I fit this perfectly. And then boom, like he pivoted positions, canceled all his interviews. So just when you think you really don't. So I would say, keep applying, keep shooting your resume out there, and don't pigeonhole yourself, don't pigeonhole yourself. Hopefully that helped. Abel, she's in LinkedIn but cannot connect with her. Okay, if she's in LinkedIn but you cannot connect with her, like I said, reach out to other recruiters. Don't get stuck on her. What parts of your personal brand interested your interviewers? What parts of your personal brand interested your interviewers? I think I got lucky with my background, and with like the major corporate like industries that I was in and the companies I applied for, they're all big brands. And I'm not trying to brag, but those big brands, it could be a double-edged sword because I've been in um, you know, I guess working in California across these like industries, especially with entertainment, and I hit all the studios, hitting Nike, hitting J. Crew, and then now at Young Brands. Interviewing could be hard because they're like, oh, this guy, they have their own assumptions. And if they want to give you the opportunity if they want to give you the time of day, they want to give you the opportunity, they will. But if they don't, you just kind of have to brush it off because they're gonna think like, oh, this guy's been at these major companies. He's not gonna be able to learn what we want to teach him. He's gonna have his own way of thinking. But I always keep an open mind, and when I go into these interviews, I tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna come in. I'm not gonna like start flipping tables. I'm not gonna change your processes. If anything, I would really want to understand like how you guys are doing things, and I can bring in my experience, and I can kind of speak to what I did, and then we can work together into improving, your business processes or your product operations, so on and so forth. Um, so yeah, but when you apply, also apply with intention. Obviously, when you go on these interviews with companies that are, wanting to interview you and you're just like, oh, this isn't right, just interview anyways, but then save the ones that you do want for last because you want to get your practice in, right? Um, so you might want to speak to, hey, my engagement here, the blah 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 blah, and then at the end of the interview, if they want to continue and they finally shoot you an offer, be like, hey, I'm interviewing, at so and so company. It could be a competitor, it could not be a competitor. At the end of the day, you want to have leverage, and that will move you to, either a higher paying opportunity, or they'll just be like, oh, we can't take this guy because he has a better offer, and that way you don't have to say no to this, this company. Um, So kind of speak to your personal brand, your personal interest. Be intentional with like where you want to go, and what you want to do with product management. Hopefully that helped, Michael. How did you convince others you were the least bad of the bad? You don't. You don't convince them that you were the least bad of the bad. You always say that you're the best of the best. Um, yeah, get that mentality out of here. Yeah. You don't want to say I'm the least bad. You're gonna say I'm the best product manager that you will ever hire. Um, yeah, that's it. Let's see. That was Rich. What were specific reasons they wanted to interview you? As many of you guys think that I've like gone on a lot of interviews, I've got rejected a ton. Okay. The amount of applications I sent, probably over thousands of it, like, and like of all the ones I probably sent out, let's just say on an average, on a week, on like a average, on like let's just say a weekly base, like let's take 1 week. I probably sent out close to like say let's just say I sent out 100 a day, right? And I take like Monday through Friday, or like Saturday. Let's just say I sent out 600 applications in a given week, right? 600 applications. I probably got like 10 or 20 back, to be honest. So it's gonna feel like shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're gonna be like, oh man, this sucks. Um, but you just have to literally keep applying, and like there's no specific reason why they interview you. To me, the reason why I got picked up from Yum Brands, and I never worked in the food industry. Okay. The only time I worked in the food industry was when I was like 16 years old working at Subway. That was the only food industry experience I've ever had. But they liked my background because I worked at Nike and I worked at J. Crew because it was e-commerce related. And they were like, oh, Yum Brands, it's an e-commerce brand. We're gonna need someone that understands e-commerce. I've also applied on LinkedIn, and for some odd reason, LinkedIn seems to be just filled with fintech stuff. And to that, I got rejected. I got rejected. I actually no. I take that back. Capital One interviewed me. Capital One picked me up. I got an interview with Capital One. Um, I got interviewed at Foot Locker, obviously. Um, I got interviewed at a couple other places. But regardless of who I interviewed with, at the end of the day, a company will interview you because they see potential in your background. So your background has to relate to whichever industry you're applying to, and that's why they will interview you. That's the specific reason why they wanted to interview you. If you apply to somewhere else, there is a possible chance, but most likely, like for example, Capital One interviewed me because I had Nike, and J. Crew. And again, I think it's my experience as a product manager working in the e-commerce realm. Capital One had a e-commerce like online platform, right? So it's like a retail platform. Whatever it is, there was some correlation, which is why they interviewed me. No company is gonna bring on something that has no relation to it. There has to be something that resonates with them about your background, that they're like, okay, we could use him or her or they in this application that we're building out. So again, apply with intention, apply with like really understanding of like, okay, how can my experience apply to what they're trying to do here or whatever project they're trying to build out. Let's see. Uh, Doug Clark, annual headcount targets were aggressive that year. Yes, 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 they were. What objections did you overcome, such as with experience or domain, maybe attitude? Um, oh, that's a tough question. What objections did you overcome? Uh, yeah, it's really kind of hard to speak to. My experience is mainly in just business tech. So I was only able to speak to business tech and like web application stuff. Um, so I mean, when you go in, just whenever you go in, just be confident about whatever you're speaking to. Um, they can definitely tell when you're not confident. And trust me, I've definitely made up some BS during the interviews because I didn't want to say no. Um, and they'll catch that. Like they'll be like, "Oh, okay, can you elaborate a little bit more?" And I was literally stuck. Capital One, for example, I didn't know anything about Capital One. But I'll try to like finesse it and speak to my experience at Nike and how that relates to what they want. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but you definitely, I would say, carry an attitude, like carry a good, like, hold yourself up, walk into the interview as if you own the interview, right? Like as if you're the freaking CEO. You just own it and just be like, yeah, I'm the best product manager that you'll ever deal with. Again, when you control the flow of conversation, it shows leadership. There's a certain air about you when you control the flow of conversation as opposed to being like a beta, right? If you're an alpha, you lead the conversation, they can feel that energy from you. And they'd be like, all right, this guy, he really wants the opportunity. He's not gonna wait around for us to ask questions. He's gonna lead and ask the questions. Um, so don't worry about objections. Don't worry about like, oh, what if they throw this at me? What if they throw that at me? Like, no, just go in. Hey, what is it about my background that you liked about me? Or like, what was it about my background that really like, caught your attention? Let yourself lead, and then let them feed you the information that you need, so that you can use that to kind of speak to whatever it is that that they want to hear. Um, let's see the next question. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Deepika, what are some common red flags in an org product culture? Can I catch these during the interview stage? Okay, when you're in an interview, know that you can also interview them. It's a two-way street. Um, I think we're so used to the culture of like, hey, they're the interviewer, or they're the interview. Yes, they're the interviewer, we're the interviewee. So you just sit there and you're just like, okay, like, what's the next question? What's the next question? For every question they ask, for every question they ask, always ask a question back. If you want me to give you an example of that, oh, let's just say, um, uh, it'd be a tough question, but like, let's just say like, um, oh, how well did you work with your team? Or give us an example when you dealt with ambiguity, right? How did I deal with ambiguity? Oh man, like, when something I didn't know, I spoke to my teammates, I spoke with my product managers, my senior product managers. I try to really understand the requirements, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever you want to say, flip it. Be like, oh, are there, what's the current issue with your team right now? Is there a huge issue with ambiguity? Like, and how are you guys currently overcoming that problem? Right? And they'll speak to it. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, our current issue is this. This product manager, they might not speak badly about their team, but they will tell you what they're struggling with, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what they're hiring you for. You are a product manager. You are supposed to be pragmatic. You are coming in to solve a problem. At bottom line, that's it. Or else, why would they bring you on, right? Um, so always always interview them, because also at the end of the day, you want to know what the dynamic is, like, what the team dynamic is, what the company culture is like. Is this a fit for you? It might be a great fit for them. They'd be like, oh man, we want this guy or we want this girl, you know. But do you want them? Do you want to work for them? Right? For example, with me, when J. Crew brought me on, I was like, oh man, like it's a perfect fit. It's a clothing, apparel, like, industry, like I kind of transition. When I joined J. Crew, man, it was a shit show. Like no one knew what they were doing. Everyone tried to take lead. Everyone's trying to fight for the spotlight. No one would want to listen. They'll take my suggestions and then it goes one year out the other. They wanted to bring me on to improve business processes, to improve product operations. And when I tried to like help them, they were like, all right, I think it lasted like 2 or 3 days that they try to improve, and then like all of a sudden they go back to their old way, and I'm just like, all right, well, you're the one paying me, like I really don't care, um, but again, I think I didn't really ask the right questions, I didn't really understand, or I did, but they kind of like downplayed, like like, oh yeah, we have a great team, blah 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 blah. So always refine your questions. Ask them if ask them if this is a backfill position. Ask if this is a net new position. If it's a net new position, why is it a net new position? Oh, it's a backfill position. Why is it a backfill position? What did the previous product manager do wrong? Right? What was the struggle? What was the friction? Why was there a friction? You can ask them all these questions. If anything, they'll be like taken back. They'll be like, oh my gosh, like this guy's really asking like uncomfortable questions for us, and that will literally spark interest because they know that this guy is actually like this guy or girl knows like what they're asking, like they really want to understand like what our company is like. So the more questions you ask, the better, and don't be afraid. So for every question they ask a question back. um how much did you negotiate your offer? Anything unconventional? Yes, I asked for the most. Okay, so if you apply for a job, there'll always be a range, right? I don't know why you would always say like, or I don't know what anybody in the right state of mind. I don't know why you would want to go for the low end, right? For example, let's take Meta. Meta is insane with how much they pay their product managers. Their range is from 190 all the way up to like 280K. So when they ask you what your preference is, or like what is your compensation, what do you want for your compensation? Yeah, I want 280K. Like if anything, I want 300K. Like at the end of the day, the worst they're gonna say is no. I'm like, okay, fine. Your range said 280, so I'm gonna shoot. That's where my value is. And you can always say that like, hey, my previous engagement, you can always tell them what your previous engagement is. Most people don't recommend it. I don't care. I'm gonna tell them, hey, my previous engagement at Nike, this was what they were paying me per hour, or this was my salary at my previous engagement at J Crew. Can you meet me here? If not, cool. I'm not, like that's fine. But I know my value. I know what I can bring. I know I can be an asset. I know I can like solve your problems. I know I can improve your processes. You're the one that needs me. So, meet me here. Um, just recently, there was an individual or like a recruiter that called me out. Um, they were like, "Hey, we love your background, but the most we could pay you is 160." I'm like, "Sorry, I can't do 160." I was like, if you want me, um, you have to meet me at 175 or 180." And they're like, "Oh, like we can't." And I'm like, "Okay, then you can't afford me." And they're like, "But we don't want to lose you." And I'm like, "Okay, then what do you want to do?" You know? So it's like really understanding your value. At the end of the day, they didn't call me back because they couldn't afford me. Now, if you're stuck in a position where you're like, oh, I need a job, then yes, you might have to like swallow a pill and be like, oh yeah, like this is the best I can do. I've taken a pay cut before. I've taken a huge pay cut before, and it was at Nike. I have worked my way up to I think it was like $78 an hour, which probably equates to like $170,000, salary base. And then because I wanted to go into brand management, I took a 40% pay cut. So, it all depends on where you want to go, what you want to achieve. Um, so yeah, let's see. Able to Plexi, did you check your email today? Okay, not that one. Who had the best, worst, most fun and quirky interview rounds? Nike. Nike had the best interviews. I think Nike is by far the most fun. They asked me like what shoes I like. Obviously it was a test too. They were like, hey, like out of all our lines, like what is your favorite? And I was like, yeah, Air Max ones or like Air Jordans, stuff like that. So always ask them a question back too. Like when you catch their attention about you can ask them like, oh, like, do you enjoy your work here? Like, how long have you been at the company for? What is your best experience working at this company? People love to talk about themselves. At the end of the day, we as human social creatures, we love to talk. We love to talk about our experiences. We love to exactly like what you guys are doing right now. Not that I love to hear myself talk, but I love to share my experience, right? Interviewers are the same way. They aren't just they don't like interviews. All right, let me just tell you that. No one likes sitting in a room talking to a complete stranger trying to like get to know them. They want to be going back to they want to be going back to their desk. They want to make money. They want to get their work done. They're being forced to go on these interviews because that's their job. Now, when you go on to it, make it fun for them. Make it fun for the interviewers. Ask them questions that throw them off. Make them think. That will put you in a different category. That will make you stand out, and that will make you memorable. And they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that kid. He asked me this question. Like no one asked me that before." I think there was 3 interviews when I was at Nike and at J Crew, and I think it was at Sony Pictures or one of the other studios. 3 interviewers were like, "No one's ever asked me that," or they were like, "That is a great question. I like that," and that made me stand out. So always keep that in mind. Be creative. Always ask questions. I'm also an OGBA. That's awesome. Product development roots. Yep. Dope. Awesome. What type of product sense questions did you get? How prepared were you? Was it performance worthy of an Oscar or Tony? No, absolutely not. It was definitely not. I think there might have been one interview where I literally like I think I was just on point. I just knew everything they were asking, and that's only because I went through so many rounds of interviews before. And when it came to this one interview, I had heard all these questions already. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like this is it's almost like deja vu. I'm like, oh, I literally just answered all these questions in like another interview like a week ago. So I was able to speak, and it just flowed naturally. And the interviewer was like, wow, like these are great answers. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Like it just came natural, you know. Um, so to be prepared, literally just keep applying, keep going on interviews. That's how you prepare yourself. There is no like magic potion. There is no like magic like, oh, if I study this or blah 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 blah. Like it's literally just going on like calls after calls after calls, and you'll like I said, you'll see a pattern in all these interview questions, and eventually you'll be able to speak to it as if you're speaking to a friend over the phone, telling them about this new position that you just obtained, and you're gonna tell them like this job is cool. This is what I'm gonna be doing. Blah 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 blah. How accurate are job descriptions? Not accurate. That's why you need to interview them. Job descriptions are so vague. The job descriptions that I've been on, there were probably a handful of job descriptions where I went on and or I got the job and then I was just thrown into the deep end and I had to, carry more responsibilities than what was expected or what was described on the JD. So again, always ask, hey, what is my day in the life going to look like? Who is my direct report? What am I going to be doing? What problems am I going to be solving? Who am I going to be speaking with? Who's like my stakeholders? Um, how big is the team? What are the current struggles? What are you guys trying to solve? All these questions will flush out exactly what you're going to be doing. Job descriptions are just a high level, just because like if you apply enough, you'll start to see that all these job descriptions are literally like the same. Yeah, pretty much it's literally the same. Like it's so generic. It's like, oh, you need to understand product development lifecycle. Oh, you need to like be able to do this and this. Sorry, I gotta plug in my computer, or else my shit's gonna die. Give me 1 second. Um, but yeah, it's yeah, it's all the same. Um, cool. Yeah. Any other questions? I know we're a little over time. I know, Rich, I'm not too sure how much time you have, but yeah, any other open questions? I know it's 10:06, so at least my end. Sorry, I know I flew right through that.
Anything else? I mean, I really want to thank I really want to go ahead, as you guys just saw on the offer channel to Dana Romano. I had to like hop out earlier, but
Oh,
offer,
no, you're good. Dude, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. Kel's like, she got a job. No, I was kidding. Yeah,
I didn't say any of that.
80% of communication is nonverbal, fam. Don't insult my communication skills. Observation skills. All right. I want to give a really big thank you for Lawrence out there in the East Coast for doing this. He didn't have to.
Yeah,
Uh
of course.
yeah, I was listening actually the whole time in the background, and I think overall here's kind of like the key takeaways is I think for a lot of people that like so much of job hunting is just chance. That was my biggest takeaway. Is just like, but the harder that you work at it, all of a sudden, like things just start happening. Like I recorded like 113 shorts the other day, and like I didn't know what was gonna happen of that. And then like things that like had nothing to do with me recording 113 shorts it's just been lighting up. I see a lot of dollars coming into my bank account in about 15 days. You guys are about to see a lot of activity of money that's about to be made that has nothing to do with product management for me. And I'm just very
Yeah.
excited for that right now.
Hey, yo, let me get a cut since I'm helping you like that with that one article or whatever that you were saying that got a lot of views. Let
Oh,
me
me
get a
too,
cut.
man. We're about to do some amazing things, yo. But like, yeah, I think overall it's about like honestly speaking, like you just have to like really go for it. I mean, I was there where I hosted 2 live sessions a day every 12 hours. Lawrence was one of the few people that showed up. I mean, Lawrence, you landed, Sandy landed, Shivani
Nice.
landed.
Oh yeah.
Sean, obviously, he landed. Pritwish, who's gonna be like, I'm scheduling him for the next guest coach. He landed. So the
Oh,
it was hilarious. Like January 4th, we had like, about like we counted up 61. Plexi, you can go out there and hop. Everybody say thank you to Plexi before she goes to you go rest.
thanks,
Um,
Betsy.
we had like 61 people on January 4th that was on that very first coaching call. Like, it's the start of the new year. Let's go, and now we're like into like freaking the summer, practically May. And then like I was like, yeah, like about a week later, it was only really like I think like Lawrence, Sean, the regular like Lawrence was there, Sean was there consistently for 2 sessions a day. Obviously, you guys are full-time job hunting Prit. Michael Estoy, I think, is going to be very close to getting off of this call too. He's been like very much on it, showing up to every single session. Um, so it's really like you guys, my biggest takeaway is you guys aren't the only ones feeling like shit. You guys are not the only ones that's feeling like a little bit unmotivated. You guys are not the only
Yeah.
ones that are feeling like unmotivated, or like you guys are not the only ones that are feeling like frustrated. You know, fuck feelings. Like you gotta just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
Like
Yeah, F your feelings. Like whatever
yeah.
you're feeling at the moment, yeah, just ignore that and just I always like to say trust the process and hold the vision. Because that holds so true. Like if you just hold the vision and you just keep on doing it, it's just like going to the gym, right? You already know what your goal is. You already know that like, hey, this is the physique that you want. There's no point keeping like trying to be like, oh, like you keep looking at it. You just stay consistent. You just know like you have to like program your mind that like, oh, if I go every day and I eat healthy and I eat clean and I don't, mess up, but I stay consistent in going every day, that I'll eventually reach that physique that I want. Now, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take 3 years to get to the physique, right? So it's the same thing with product management or applications. Know that if you're consistently applying day in, day out, you will get a job. Now, yeah, there are days where I literally wanted to give up. I was like, this sucks. Like, no one's reaching out. And again, it's timing. Obviously, if you're applying in the dead of winter in December, January, no one's gonna hire you, right? Like it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if you have like the perfect resume because it's the end of the year, everyone's closing out. No one's gonna hire. So also keep in mind it's timing. So position yourself in a way where like, okay, maybe you're unemployed for 3 months, but can you keep yourself afloat? Can you do something at this time? Can you wait it out till maybe, February or March? That's when things starts to ramp up. I didn't land my Yum opportunity until February. January. I got let go of J Crew in November, so I was down like 3.5 months. But eventually, my applications did pay off. I'm still applying right now, just in case, because with this current market, it's crazy. Like, a ton of people are getting let go right now. So even with my job, I'm still applying. So keep applying. Doesn't hurt. It will definitely keep your skills, your communication skills sharp. Trust me, I've uh, there have been times where I got a job and I'm like, I don't need to worry about it anymore. I got let go and I was so rusty. And that's why I've been back to product gym, I think like 4 or 5 times now. Every time I got let go, I'm like, I need to hop back on to product management to brush up on my skill set, to get this like community to kind of motivate myself. And definitely depend on each other. Like lean on each other, reach out to each other, test each other. Sean was like my partner. He was my interviewee partner. If you guys know Sean from last week's call. Um,
Oh, Sean's still interviewing too, by the way.
oh, is he?
Yeah, he's still interviewing.
Yeah. See, me and him, we were interview partners. Like I would test him. We would do like mock interviews, and we do that like I think twice a week. So lean on each other. You guys are a community. Without the community, I think I definitely would have like I definitely would have lost myself somewhere.
Yeah, like that's like the moral of the story is just being like I see so many people that are like, Sean got a job at Pfizer. He said it last week on the call. Kel, you heard. He's like, I'm still interviewing, and then I'll hear people say, oh, I'm trying to keep a low profile. I don't feel comfortable. Like, what am I? He's like, no, I'm still interviewing.
Yeah,
Like he just started the job 2 weeks ago, and he's out there
yeah,
telling people, I just got a job, and I'm still trying to get a better job.
yeah,
You
exactly. Yeah,
know?
trust me, Yum isn't paying me Yum isn't paying me like what I want. I'm like, all right, but this is what I need. But I'm gonna continue applying. My goal is to hit 200K by hopefully end of year. Like that's my goal. There are people here in Product Gym that have hit that mark. Trust me when I say this. There is one individual that hit 300K. That is insane. And there are people in this from Product Gym that are like crazy. There's this dude. I think what was his name? The guy that just landed the position, the Indian guy. Dude,
For
he
wish.
applied like yeah, his application numbers were insane, unreal. He was in fintech though, so there was a lot of fintech opportunities. But
He was
his
also
his
averaging
his
like I think like two interviews every other like two and a half
yeah
weeks.
yeah
You
every
know,
day he had like 3 or 4 interviews set up. I was like, that is mind blowing crazy. But that's because he sent out like hundreds of applications a day, hundreds. So
yeah. Being accountable sucks. Actually, yeah, I actually invited Lawrence to come hang out with me at my apartment last April, this week,
yes,
actually 1 year ago. We
yes.
were on my overpriced rooftop doing yoga. Remember that
Oh
day?
man, that was awesome.
That was lit. That
Yeah,
was like mini Coachella, right?
I'll be visiting you in Korea though.
EDC
I'll
is
be visiting you in Korea, right?
EDC is coming, yo. But like, yeah. What was I gonna say? Like, what was I gonna say? Right? Like, I'm
Accountability.
keeping Lawrence accountable, and then keeping Lawrence accountable, and then what was I gonna say? Yeah, he was keeping me accountable at the gym. He was looking at he was like auditing my refrigerator. You
Yeah.
know.
I started cooking for him
Uh,
too. I was
I
like, yo,
was
you need
like,
to
yo,
look at
dude, we
this.
got to eat this shit again. Like, what am I poor? Let's get out of here. I mean, nobody wants to be told what they know they should be doing, but they know they should be doing. I don't,
Yeah,
I don't like, I don't enjoy it either, right? But you got to do what you got to go ahead and do. Like, not everybody needs to get a better body, but some of you guys right now need a job. So
yeah,
that's two very different stories. So
yeah.
with that
So at the end of the
said,
day, it's like at the end of the day, ask yourself, how badly do you need this? Or how badly do you want this? Do you need it as badly as you need to breathe? Yeah. Is this oxygen for you? Like,
there
yeah.
you go. Yeah, 200K offers that are being landed, Dana, that was a TUI.
And 200K is what I'm shooting for, man.
Kel
And
was
200K
like,
would be comfy.
man, what the? Get
200K
bombed out here, yo. But okay, we got to go out there and hop. I want to thank Lawrence really quick. I'm about to shut off the recorder right now. Abel, if you can just hop on, let me go out there and help you navigate that little problem. But give me a second here.